Hi, I'm Lavanya. I'm from Texas originally, and I'm 24. I've been a fan of JUNNY since 2018, so I guess a little over 5 years now. And I finally got to see him live in February of this year, and it was an incredible experience. So I'm very happy to be getting interviewed for this podcast.
Well, I'm glad that you're here. I love talking to Junniverse in general. They're literally my favorite people to talk to because, of course, I'm Junniverse as well. So you said you've been a fan for 5 years.
Yeah, it's been
a long time.
Yeah.
How did you get into JUNNY?
So I remember, I've been like a fan of K-pop since maybe like 2011. Like my first group that I was into was like SHINee. So it was back when I was in like middle school or something. And I never like really got into the K R&B scene, save for like maybe like the artists that were getting like super mainstream in like maybe 2016, Dean, Crush, those artists. Yeah, but I just wasn't super into like Korean R&B, indie. I just like didn't know how to get into it, sort of, because there wasn't as much of a presence, I think, of those artists as there is now. And my friend back in college, that I used to go over to her dorm to like just hang out and chill, and just like de-stress from my engineering work. And she would play a lot of Korean R&B, a lot of Korean hip hop, a lot of like chill hop type stuff. And I didn't know like it was such a huge genre with like so many different artists. And I remember she played Judy's Magnet, which is like a solo song that he released in, I think, 2018, off of one of like the Marilyn Wonderland albums, like whatever label that he was under at the time. And I just like immediately I was like, whose voice is that? Like I loved his like tone, and I loved like the melodies he was singing. And like I loved like, I feel like Korean R&B artists, especially that like are bilingual, like they do that thing where they go back and forth between like the song is like 50% English, 50% Korean, and the way he like seamlessly transitioned was just like a lot of artists do it, but the way he did it I just loved, especially like as someone who speaks like a couple of languages myself. Like I always just thought that was the coolest thing musically. So yeah, that intrigued me. And then my friend showed me some songs off of the collaboration album he had with Yellow Oasis, Interior. And that's kind of when I realized I was like, this kind of music is like right up my alley. Like the jazziness of it, like just like the number of genres that were just like seamlessly fused together. It was just so cool to me. So that's kind of how I fell in love with his voice. And then I guess like at the time he didn't have like a crazy amount of music released because like that was kind of when he was, I think, just starting out. Just over the years I've been like fiending for like more like JUNNY content. Recently, in the past couple of years, I've like really gotten into his music, and he's been like even more active than he's ever been before. And so I've just been living it up as a JUNNY stan.
Honestly, it's like the best time right now to be a JUNNY fan because he has so much content coming out. He's like all over social media, which he's usually, before he wasn't. Now he's like even utilizing threads, which is crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, it's a good time to be a JUNNY fan right now. And he's singing everywhere, which is
and it's so good. Like it like makes me proud. Like if I even have the right to say that, I don't know. I just like
you do.
Like I just am always like, I think I've always just been rooting for him and always been like, I feel like he doesn't get enough recognition, because when I like realized that he like kind of produces all his music, he like composes all his music, writes all the lyrics, like he's just so involved in it, and like he's like honestly a musical genius to me. So I'm like, I've been waiting for like people to recognize him.
That's something that I like fight with people on. Well, not fight, it's not any kind of fighting, but you know, I'm very like aggressive with the artists that I love, and I'm like, JUNNY deserves so much recognition because not only like with his own music, but like if you listen to K-pop, you're listening to him.
No, exactly. Yeah. And that blows my mind that he can do both. And I feel like the music that he does write for other artists is so well suited for those artists. And then like the music he writes for himself is so well suited for himself, but he does it all well. And it's like,
I
admire him so much for it.
for SHINee song, it does suit them so good. But I heard it. My sister loves SHINee, and I do too. But she's like loves SHINee, right?
Mm.
So she was playing their like songs in the car, and I was like, "Who wrote this?" Because it was like immediate, like the little,
right? Yeah.
I looked it up, and I was like, "Junny wrote this." Of course he did. Like,
Of course he did. Right.
so good. We know that, you know, you got into his music because of his music, hearing his voice and all that. But what is something like personality-wise that drew you to be like, I love Junny, and like this is the hill that I die on, and like, and I'm not moving from here?
Yeah. So, okay. So one thing I do want to say is like, it drove me insane the first few years of being his fan that I felt like I couldn't like be his fan because he didn't have like enough of like a presence online. I was like, dude, I want to know more about you. Like, it's like driving me crazy. And like the past few years, he's been on like K-pop Daebak show and like Get Real and all like, and so like, I feel like I've gotten to know more and more about like his personality, and it's only just like confirmed that like I want to be like a huge fan of his. And so one thing I do remember I think it was his appearance on like Eric Dom's podcast, where he was kind of talking about how he started out, which was just totally independently, just like living in a tiny room in Korea and just like writing and composing and just like doing his thing. And
he wrote 100 songs a day.
Yeah. It's like insane to me. And I'm like, when I think of that situation, like at least with my personality, I'm like, that sounds like incredibly stressful, like trying to live off of that and like trying to just like go it on your own like that, especially with something like creative. And I remember like Eric had asked him like a similar question, like, was that like nerve-wracking? Did you ever like want to give up? And like, I've never heard someone answer this way, but I can't remember word for word what he said, but he said something like, no, not really. Like I never thought of giving up. It's just like the sheer like confidence that he had in his ability to just like make it. He was like, no, I thought like if I just kept going at it, like I knew that this was it, like this is what I wanted to do. And so like I knew it would work out eventually. I was like, that's crazy, but like I admire that so much.
Yeah.
Especially like as someone that like sings myself, like not that I like write my own music or anything, I'm not like at that level, but I am like a trained singer, and so like all the more like it's like kind of like a dream in the back of my head, because like I'm an engineer by day, but like I do like doing singing, and like I like make covers and stuff, and have like taught myself how to use this like an audio software and all that, like how to like vocal produce, and it is something like I'm pretty like interested in and invested in as a hobby. Yeah, so as somebody that like is interested in that kind of thing, like I do like admire him so much more as like somebody that I'm a fan of, for kind of just like leaving everything behind and like deciding that this was what he was going to do, and like being so confident in his ability to do that he can answer that question like that. I was like, that's crazy. I feel like in my life, like I've always been like kind of a perfectionist, and like even with singing as a hobby, I've always been like, like my family always tells me like, why are you so like hard on yourself about it? Like I feel like you do a good job, like why are you always like, because I'm always looking for a way to improve, and I'm always like, I listen to my stuff, like even if it's a cover, I listen to it over and over, and I'm always like picking at little things and criticizing. But like I feel like when I heard him say that, it just kind of inspired me to have like a more positive outlook on like me and my own abilities, even though, you know, what I'm doing is on such a smaller scale than what he was going for. But anyway, that was definitely one thing that that really drew me towards like his personality. And then other than that, like if we want to get like super like K-pop stan with it, whenever I heard him like talking on Get Real about like how sensitive he is,
I laughed. I'm sorry, I giggled when you said that.
Yeah, me too. But also like I feel like guys never say that they're like that. I feel like I'm like that, and I like related to him a lot on that. And I was like, man, we would be friends. I feel like we would be besties.
You were saying before that, you know, some things that drew you to him. What keeps you there? Because for me, there's a plenty of things that keep me here. But I would love to hear your answer, because it's different for everybody, honestly.
That's a good question. Off the top of my head, like as soon as you say that, what comes to mind is that he's always like playing with different genres, and he's always like playing with a sound. And like the subject matter and everything. Like I feel like if you listen to his like earliest music and then you listen to his music now, like there's a journey there, like for him personality wise and like mentally, and there's also just like a journey musically. But he never like loses his original like sound. Like when I like hear a song and I'm like, this is so him, like he doesn't lose that element somehow. And I think that's something that I really look for, like in artists that I'm like really, really invested in. That and like just like I feel like he's always like interacting with his fans as much as he can. I remember like when I went to his concert, I was like kind of, and I had seen videos and stuff, but I was just like taken aback at like how personal like the whole experience felt, and like how much he like kind of like talked back and forth with the fans. Like there's like a whole section where he was like asking like, hey, what songs do you guys want to hear? Because like I'm sure he's aware he has like an insane amount of like individual songs that he like wouldn't be able to ever fit into a set list. But I just felt like that interaction also kind of like keeps me there, because part of me is like, oh, what if like I go to the next like JUNNY show and then like he sings like the song that I like request him to sing. Like that would be so cool. Because there's so many like songs that I think like are kind of old and kind of obscure, but mean a lot to me. And so like just like imagining that is a possibility at one of his shows, like it's just like that like kind of personal aspect of it that I really, really like.
So you mentioned that you saw him live, which is honestly, seeing him live is incredible. He is insane.
Yeah.
Explain to me like in detail, okay, your experience, because I love hearing. Was that your first time seeing him in concert?
Yes, it was my first time.
Okay, so even more, I want to hear how it felt, how you felt, everything, your experience. Like if he looked at you while he was singing on stage, you know, I need to hear.
Okay. I have to like go back, because like before the actual concert happened, because this was like a journey, like a roller coaster of emotions. So before the concert in like February of this year, I think I mentioned in my email, I lived in Taiwan for like a couple of years, or almost a couple of years. And during that time period was when he like said he was going on like the North American tour for the first time, like the first round of it. And I was like, I've been a fan for so long, why are you doing this like while I'm in Taiwan? That's so annoying. And I was like losing it over that. And he happened to announce that like second round of dates right before I was like about to come back and like live in the US permanently again. And it was perfect timing. And it was like right around my birthday. Like I was super excited. And I was like, he did this for me. And so that like anticipation had been building for a while. I was like manifesting in my head. I was like, he's gonna do it again. Like he's gonna come back. He's gonna tour. And so I saw him in Austin. So it's the city that I went to college in. And so that's just like a city I always love being in. And I feel like it's just a great city, great vibes for like going to concerts and stuff. And so like just like that hyped it up even more for me. And then I did sign up for like the VIP like thing, so I was able to like meet him on stage for a second, like give him a hug and like take a picture with him and everything. And like that whole experience was like so surreal. It was like
Talk about it.
Oh my god, I don't even like, because it like went by in like such a blur, because I like could not believe that he was standing in front of me after I had been a fan for so long. And like it also kind of made me emotional. I was like, oh my god, like how like far he's come, just standing in line watching like all these fans go up to him, and they were all like as excited as I was to see him. And he was like super sweet. In the like 2 seconds that I was able to interact with him. But just like the look on his face with like everybody that he was interacting with, like he just looked like he was like so happy to be there. And I was like, man, I'm happy you're here too. And then we took our picture, and I remember like later looking at it and like obsessing over it and being like, why did I stand like that? Why did I like that?
That's the worst.
I was like, I had one opportunity. They had him like sitting on a stool, and then the rest of us standing, and I was like, I don't know how to pose. And so I like stood in like the most like awkward way possible. And I also remember like regretting not bringing something up there for him to sign because we were supposed to like put all our stuff on the table and like not bring anything up there probably for like safety reasons. But this like big brain girl had like a white t-shirt on that she had him sign. And so like obviously like she couldn't leave that behind and go up. So I was like, damn, I should have done that. My one regret. But yeah, and then it was I feel like the fans were super cute. Like we were all like waiting for him to go on. Like as soon as he went on, I remember like a bunch of people were like yelling at him, being like, "You're so cute!" And he like got off the side. And I like kind of like I've never been in like a community of like Junnie fans because he's like I don't know, he's just like more up and coming, I guess. And I never like found an opportunity to interact with other Junnie fans. So it was kind of crazy to like be surrounded by people that like love him as much as I do. But I had like no idea what the culture was going to be like the fan culture. And I feel like everybody was like super respectful, but like just super happy to be there. And like the little back and forth like bantering with the audience was like super cute. I feel like you can't really experience that with like artists that are like huge. And so like I did really like it was like in a really small venue, and so it felt like it was just like a personal concert just for us. And yeah, and then I remember like the part of the concert that the set list that I was like the most excited for was like the portion where he does like all his like super R&B hip hop like Say and like Trust and all those songs. And like it was like everything I imagined it to be. Like I was like losing my mind over like how like accurate his pitch is and like how
crazy.
It's insane. I'm like, why do you sound better than the studio recording? What do you expect me to do with that? Like I knew, but like seeing in real life and then like when he performed like Feel That, it was like so hype. I love just like the medley of songs that he does in that like kind of hype section of it. Like I about lost my mind even at the beginning when he like came out and like he started singing Color Me. I was like, oh my god, I'm not gonna survive. Yeah, overall super surreal experience. And then at the end I thought it was really cute at the end how he kind of like everybody rushes towards him and like hands him stuff to sign, like their phone cases or whatever, and he was like signing everybody's stuff. He like took flags from people and like he was like talking to people while he was doing it. And unfortunately I didn't get to have anything signed, but just like watching that happen was honestly just an experience in itself. But yeah, super fun experience. Would do again.
I hate having post-concert depression. Literally the worst thing in history. I literally freaking hate it.
Oh yeah, it's like the worst feeling.
But mine's worse with Junnie. Every time that I've been able to see him, it is literally the worst thing ever. It's worse than anyone that I've actually ever seen perform. Because I love concerts. I've been going to concerts for forever. But his has always impacted me, even if I'm watching from the back, the front, wherever. Like it's always impacted me in such a way that I cannot stop watching the videos. I leave with like such a sense of like pride for him. Like he's
oh yeah
come so far, but also I love seeing the fans. I don't know how to deal with the post-concert depression. I would love to hear how the concert was for you, like after when you're going back home or to the hotel or wherever you were going. How was that experience and how did you deal with it?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I do remember when I left the venue, I felt like it was something like an out of body experience. That's so dramatic, but like
no, it's so valid. It's so
I was
valid.
like, I'm still in there actually. He's actually still performing in my head. And I was like watching the videos that I took while I was at the concert, like literally 2 minutes after, like on my way to my car, I was watching them on my phone. And then I remember the day after I had to like so I tried to just like forget about it for the rest of the night. I was like, okay, let me like focus on something else. And then the day after I had to like drive like 3.5 hours back to where I'm originally from with my brother. My brother like doesn't listen to like Korean music or anything. He listens to like what I send him sometimes. But he doesn't have like any like investment in this at all. But I was sitting there, he was like, "How was the concert?" My ass was talking for the next hour about it. Like I could not shut up. I have to. Like that's how I process it. And so like I was telling him about like basically everything that I just said, but like probably in more detail because it had just happened. And like the entire drive back, I was like, I'm driving. We're playing his music the whole time. I don't care. I was like, just like streaming his discography the whole way home, essentially. I was like repeating songs. My brother was like, what are you doing? But also just like, especially when I see an artist like JUNNY that's so like vocally proficient and like all his like songs are so like vocal focused, I like for one will just never shut up about like how good his like vocal technique is and like how he did this run and it was so good, or like he did this high note and it was so good, or like he has these like melodies that are so like complicated and he just like does it with no effort, and like I will just go on and on to like anyone about it whether they know what I'm talking about or not. And so I think how I deal with it is just like talking about it to everybody I know until I just can't say anything new. And also just like streaming their music until I get sick of it, which is like almost impossible with JUNNY's music because honestly,
literally
no skips. No skips.
Everything is so good. Yeah. I did the Spotify receipt thing.
Yeah.
He's literally number one.
Oh, number two, same.
Number two is BRB. Literally 1 and 2. I've been listening to them like on repeat, just those two, because it's insane. He's so good. I think like I was doing like the Spotify like Receiptify thing like I think every month, and I would be, me and my friend were like sending them back and forth like last year I think, and like at least like 2 JUNNY songs were like on the top 10 like every single time, because I would like Waste Your Time. I'm obsessed with that song. I'm like mad that JUNNY doesn't seem to be as obsessed with that song as I am because it's never in the set list. But like I am obsessed. That's how I feel about Handle You. Oh my god, same. Do you ever okay, here's the thing. I will like I know all of his songs like really, really well. I've heard them all a bunch of times, right? But sometimes I'll like play one that I maybe don't play quite as often as the other ones, and then I'm like, wait, this is really good, as if it wasn't really good to me before, and then suddenly that one's my number one. Like it's always changing. I feel like that's why I can't get sick of like his music, is because like every time I listen to it, there's like something new that I notice, especially if it's one that I don't stream quite as often, and then I'm like, okay, well suddenly this is in like my top 5 JUNNY songs. Like that's exactly what happened with like Handle You like a couple months ago. Yeah, his music is so different. Like it's a different song every time you listen to. There's nothing like the Blanc album, literally like you listen to every song, it's a different genre every time. Yeah, and like you notice different like elements of like the instrumentation, and I feel like you just like it's a different vibe all of a sudden. Yeah, that's something that I appreciate a lot and look up to him a lot for music wise, because he's able to be so, like we were saying in the beginning, like he's so versatile with his music and his producing, his writing, and the way that he even does his little vocal flares. Like everything is so unique to each song, which is insane, because obviously you hear of artists changing up their style and like, you know, per album it's a different style, but essentially that album's the same style that they're switching to. But he's like managed to have every song, even different parts of the song, be a different twang to it, and it's literally crazy. And I think for a lot of people who really like listen and invest in his music, that's what keeps them, you know, intrigued, even if they're not like, oh, JUNNY stan. Like that's what keeps them like, okay. Right. And I feel like that's how he like rose as an artist, is because like, he's like constantly raising the bar with his own music. Like you can't really compare him to anybody else, because like what he does with the genres and like even within like one song is just so different than anybody else. And it's so like characteristically him that like you can't get away from it. Like it's like I feel like, which
I know you can't really say this, but like objectively his music is good. Like what am I like that's how I feel about it.
You can say it. Go ahead and say
Yeah.
it.
Another thing that I think really like pulled me in about him, and I know we talked about that earlier, but it's just
No worries.
he I've never seen an artist that just like every feature he does just like makes the song. Like there is not a single feature he's done. It doesn't matter how obscure the artist is, I will find it and it will be good because he's on it. And it's like not my bias talking. I feel like that's just like even before I was like a huge stan of him or anything, like I was like, if Junny's on the song, it's gonna be a good. I know it's gonna be just an objectively good song.
He's gonna make the song. I mean, you know, give the flowers to the other artists. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he has a line in one of his songs. Like I think it's an older song. He's saying like everything I like everything he sings on like turns to gold. And I was like, could not be truer. I could not have said it better myself. Like you're not even writing at that point. It's just true.
Well, I think that's something like his confidence about his music is crazy. Like he knows he's good, but he doesn't.
And it doesn't come off as like cocky or anything. Or
yeah,
like,
it's
arrogant.
such a humble thing that I think that I don't know. It's so intriguing. I'm like,
yeah, I get the vibe that he's just like unapologetically like he loves himself, but like in a healthy way. And I feel like I really look up to that.
I know that you mentioned before, we were talking about it before, how like it shocked you or surprised you when you were in a room with other Junniverse that were, you know, loved him as much as you did. Being in Junniverse now, do you interact with other fans as much as others do? Or how do you feel about Junniverse? How does it feel, that community? How does it feel for you?
I guess like I've never been one to be like super like really active on any kind of like stan Twitter or like anything like that. But it made me just like in general, it made me really happy that there's like you probably have seen it. There's like a Junny updates account on Instagram that's like pretty well followed. I think it's like basically like the main account that a fan could follow for his stuff. And it just like I felt like a sense of camaraderie just like being able to follow that account, seeing people like comment like excitedly about like all of his new stuff and how like whoever runs the account like just posts like every little thing that he does, which is like honestly like really useful for me. And just like because there was like a good few years where like it was really hard to find out like what he was doing or like when his next like song or anything was like coming out or like when he was going to be performing and all of that. And like as I was saying before, like as a fan of his music, like that like drove me insane. Because I was like, I want to know more about you, like I want to see you live, I want to do all these things. And it just like made me proud that there was like this like really, and it seems like just from reading comments and things like that, just like a really friendly and like loving community that like supports him and wants to do things to support him as much as I do. That sounds so cheesy, but
it's okay. It's the truth.
And something about like being part of just like a sort of more intimate community of fans. I feel like it just like means a lot. It feels like it's like he's ours, like his music is like our thing kind of. And it like, and I've experienced just like being part of a fandom that's like started out super small and like grown really big because I was like a fan of BTS since their debut. And like I am obviously like super proud and super happy that it's grown to what it has now. But I think like as a fan, especially as like a fan that doesn't like is like a working adult and doesn't necessarily like have time to like keep up with like everything an artist does like I did when I was younger. It's just like kind of like a fun like little experience to be part of like a smaller fan community like that and like watch like the artists that we love like grow little by little.
Actually, talking about the Junny Updates account, it's just Junny Updates, right?
I think so.
Okay, yeah, that one we have I don't know who the admin is either, but we have a Junniverse Discord, right? And they're actually one of the admins with me. It's like another way for Junniverse to kind of just interact with each other without being scared that other people are watching them talk about how much they love Junie and like, you know, they were doing
that's super cute. Like, I would actually love to be a part of that.
Yeah, I'll send you an invite for it.
Like, stop talking about it to like random people in my life and like talk about it.
I mean, they deserve to hear it too because they need Junie in their life as well. But
that's what I'm saying.
Okay, going back a bit, I want to know. I know for everybody, Junie means something to them. Obviously, different things for everybody. But I want to know, getting personal here, if you're comfortable with it, what exactly has Junie done for you?
I guess like one thing, like especially in the past couple of years, like I said that like I've become like a exponentially bigger fan of him in the past couple of years than any time before. And that's not only because he was more active, but also just because like having to live in like a foreign country was it was a very cool experience, but it was also like very traumatizing in a lot of ways that I kind of just didn't expect at all. I couldn't foresee like some of like the like little things that would like kind of make me depressed or make me super anxious while I was over there until I experienced kind of like living so far away from home for like an extended period of time like that. And it was like it was like in a country where like the dietary like my dietary restrictions made it difficult to like find food sometimes. My job wasn't going as planned, which is what I like kind of moved over there for. That was affecting my mental health. There was just the fact that Taiwan is not an English speaking country. And so literally anytime I went anywhere, like the translator was out. Like it's just like little things that made my daily life like really, really difficult, being so far away from my family, etc. It was a huge change for me and a huge jump. Music is always something like I just rely on to get me through tough times, as like, you know, a lot of people say. But I just remember like distinctly, and I don't even know if this is answering the question that you asked, but there was like distinctly points where like I was like so horribly depressed, but like I felt like there was a Junie song in his discography that either I could relate to or just like the vibe of it would like suit my mood or like make me feel better and just like comfort me. And like just like I also I think like reveled in like the excitement of like finding new songs by him or finding songs by him that I hadn't heard before. And just like his voice comforts me, his lyrics comfort me. Just like the music he makes, like I can't describe it, but like I feel like for every emotion I have, there's like a song I can listen to by him that kind of like matches that. And I feel like even just like kind of like distracting my mind by trying to like sing his songs because I'm a singer, or like trying to like learn those like really complicated melodies that he composes, just like would take my mind off of things sort of and like make me feel like I feel like whenever I'm singing I'm happy. And so like I feel like he just became kind of a big part of that, because honestly he's one of like the artists whose music I have the most like fun singing for whatever reason. It's just like, or for a multitude of reasons I've probably already said. And I feel like that was just like a healthy distraction for me when I was like going through those times and I just like didn't want to be where I was and like couldn't really do anything about it. I just distinctly remember like his music getting me through a lot of those experiences, and just like being excited about his stuff. Another thing is I think like in terms of like his actual like personality, it kind of goes back to what I was like saying about his confidence in himself and his abilities. I think that's something that like I have struggled with my entire life is like being too hard on myself about things and being like so terrified of like being mediocre at anything. Like I'm the type of person where like even if it's like a hobby, even if it's a casual thing I'm doing, whether it's like singing or art or whatever it is, or like my job, I've always been kind of like, if I'm not amazing at like what I'm doing, then like I shouldn't even like tell people that I do it because that's like embarrassing. Like if I'm gonna like say that I do this thing or like say that I'm good at this thing, I have to be like really, really good at it. And like I feel like all that really did, like it made me improve on a lot of things, but it also kind of just like I feel like I get stuck in this mentality of like putting myself down and like comparing myself to other people. And even though it was just a short kind of snippet of his appearance on that podcast, hearing him like just talk about his abilities so confidently, even talking, you know, about a time where like he didn't have recognition yet and he was just starting out was like incredibly inspiring to me. And I genuinely feel like when I heard that, I started changing like my mindset towards myself and like my mindset towards like my ability to do like creative things, especially because like I don't get paid to do creative things. No one's forcing me to do them. I know that I have the ability to do those things, but sometimes I just avoid working on them or avoid doing them because I'm so scared of like the failure or like scared of like, putting effort into it and it being like mediocre to me. And then I won't want to put it out, or like I'll feel like, oh, how come I put so much time into this and it's still mediocre? Like that type of thing. Like I'm so scared of that cycle that I'll like just avoid doing it altogether. Even though it makes me happy. And so I feel like I started slowly kind of changing that mindset. And it was after I kind of heard that podcast that I actually started like my YouTube channel that I have now for like song covers and stuff. It doesn't have that many videos because I do fall back into that cycle of like, this isn't good enough to put out. And so I'm not going to put it out and like avoiding it or whatever. But taking a step to doing that, I think was like huge for me because it took me until, I mean, I've been singing my entire life and that's something that I've always kind of like dreamed of doing is like putting stuff out there. But it's, I mean, it took me until my 20s to like do it because I just like I think the mentality that I had towards it just wasn't very, very healthy. And now I feel like I'm not, you know, most of the time I'm not quite as like afraid to just go for it. And I'm not afraid to believe in my own abilities as like a musician. And then like that kind of just extrapolates. Like I'm not afraid to be confident in myself with my ability to do my job well, ability to, you know, anything. I mean, it's just like I feel like once you change that mindset in one aspect of your life, you start noticing like a change in your mindset towards other things that you're doing just on a daily basis. So yeah, that was very long-winded. I don't know if it answered the question, but
You did.
Okay, good.
He is your safe place.
Yeah,
he is someone and a place you can go to when you can't be in your brain.
Yeah,
I feel that like I totally relate to that, especially with the music thing. I'm 29 and I'm barely starting my music thing, and I get in that mindset as well because I've been singing my whole entire life as well, like maybe not like classically trained or trained singing.
No, yeah.
But I love it. Like my whole family, we just a musical family.
Oh,
and awesome. I've always wanted to sing as like I've always wanted to. If you asked me when I was little, I'm going to be a singer. And because of I didn't want to be mediocre. I didn't want to be, if I'm going to do something, if I'm going to do this music thing, I want to be good and not be like made fun of. I want to be respected for it. It put me in a spiral where like I stopped singing altogether, not even around the house.
Wow.
So I relate to that completely because he is also one of the people who kind of unlocked that for me, and I remember that interview, the exact interview you're talking about. He unlocked that along with, Got7 and Page One. I always say that. You got to remember those three are the ones that like literally made me want to flip and be like, okay, you change your mindset with one thing and everything else is like different. I'm doing a podcast. I work with what I'm doing. Like, I'm trying to push out more content. Like, where did this come from? Where before I was so scared to do anything. And yeah, it's still scary. I'm sure that it's still scary for you too.
Yeah.
But just the fact that you have given yourself your own confidence and the own push to be like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Doesn't matter if 2 people watch. I'm gonna do it because I did it. Like, that's so so beautiful. I loved hearing that. It doesn't matter if it was long-winded. I loved it because I related to it so much, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to relate to it. And I say this in every single interview. I don't think Junny understands the impact he has truly on his fans. I know that he understands that his fans love him and like the fans mean a lot to him, but I don't think that he will actually ever be able to understand what he's done just by loving what he does and existing. Like, it's crazy. People's lives change. People's mentalities change. Their overall well-being changes. And that is, dude, it's amazing. I love hearing stuff like this.
Do you ever have like entire like eras or like time periods of your life that are like kind of defined by like what music you were listening to? Yeah. And like, for my experience living in Taiwan, like JUNNY is that artist for me. And I was there for like I was there for like a year and a half. And like JUNNY was that artist. It's just a core memory for me now, I think. And so like he'll always mean a lot to me because of that. Because it was like, I think, a formative experience living in such an unfamiliar environment, just like right out of college. It was like my first time living outside of Texas, which like kind of a big jump there. Hands down, he is the one artist out of everyone that I listened to that kind of got me through that period for sure. Like, just the safest escape that I could go to was turning on his music and singing along to it.
This whole interview, you're so well spoken.
Oh, thank you.
Made me a little nervous because
I'm a little
good with my
nervous before this. I was texting my friends. I was like, why am I acting like she's interviewing me to host the podcast?
And honestly, it kind of did. I was like, here, take the floor.
No.
But you were so well spoken and so enjoyable to talk to. Not saying that the other ones weren't enjoyable to talk to.
No, of course.
You're so easy to talk to because just your energy, the way you carry yourself. I know that you are really hard on yourself. As mentioned, I know it doesn't mean a lot if I say like, don't be hard on yourself, but honestly, the way that you're just communicating and the way that you're well spoken and you can tell you know what you want and you know how to get it. Don't be so hard on yourself. You already have everything that you need right there. Like, you're so
much. Oh my god, that's actually so sweet. Like, we just met today, but like that actually does mean a lot. Oh my god.
Because it's true. You need to hear it.
No, and you're like super easy to talk to too. I was like relieved.
Before we finish this little podcast, I know that it's very different. I don't know if you've ever given JUNNY a letter or kind of even written to him or said to him what he means to you or a special message. But it's a little different to sit here and say it to the camera. But I would like for you to say a special message to JUNNY.
Hi, JUNNY. I have been a fan for years, for over 5 years. And I cannot say enough about how much your music means to me, and how much I look up to you as a person and as a singer. Everything about you inspires me. I've always wanted to tell you this, but I feel like people don't say it enough, and I've said it too much. I am in love with the way you write your melodies. They're always so like unpredictable, but somehow they like catch my ear at the same time. That's just something I really admire about you, and I've always wanted to say it. But your music, the feeling that your music gives me has gotten me through incredibly tough times, and I cannot thank you enough for it. I love singing your music. I love listening to your music. And I love seeing you perform. You just mean a lot to me. I love you. I hope you keep doing what you're doing with the confidence that you've always had. And I'm so, so proud of you for how far that you've come and how much this fandom is expanding. I always feel like it's deserved. I will never shut up about you to everybody that I know, because I feel like everybody needs you and your music in their life. I can't wait to see you in LA. One thing, please, please, please release more instrumentals of your music, especially the hip hop R&B stuff, because I would love to cover it. I'm literally always learning to sing your songs. And I would just love to do covers of some of that stuff and put it out. But yeah, I love you. Thanks for being you, and thanks for all the incredible music that you have brought into the world.
You are so cute. I can't. That was
what am I even saying?
No, I mean, you spoke from your heart. You said exactly what you wanted to say to him, and honestly, that was so beautiful. I loved it. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview, and even to apply to like help me with my little passion project.
Yeah,
it was so lovely. It was so lovely meeting you, and like I said, you are so well spoken and so beautiful, and so you have a lot ahead of you, and I can't wait to see
oh my god
all that you do.
So
I would love to see some more of your covers. I want to see everything.
Course.
Check it out. I'll link it in the bio of the description of this video, so everyone can go ahead and watch you.
Oh my god, that would be amazing.
Yeah, for sure. I will.